And welcome to the 2025 Set Yourself Up for Success with the Donegans. We are very excited to have you here, very excited to be running this workshop this year. And we have been working on creating our version of extraordinary for about 20 years now. I read my first self-development book when I was 20 years old. It changed my life, and I've spent 26 years learning how to create extraordinary. Our version of extraordinary, we are nomadic, we travel around the world, we've hit financial independence, but we love to contribute. We love to run workshops, we love to help people. That's our version of extraordinary. But the question is, what's your version? Martin and Lisa, what's your version of extraordinary? Paul, Fiona, MJ from Canada, like, what's your version of extraordinary, and what are you going to build? That's what it all comes down to, is taking small action every day to build. Martin and Lisa say, sell the house, buy a narrowboat and travel the UK. I love that. That's the vision. And here's the thing that we've come to realize is the grand vision of extraordinary is rooted in the mundane. It's rooted in making phone calls, sending emails, doing small actions, researching the narrowboat to buy. That is where you truly make extraordinary things happen. And that is what we really need to do, but it's not sexy. In the finance course, we always talk about the sexy stuff is coming in week 6, investing, but it's the non-sexy stuff of tracking your spending, creating a gap, investing your money that actually creates the future you want. And as we go through this tonight, sometimes in this workshops, you might go, hold on, Donegans, I know that. And if you catch yourself saying, I know that, the real question is, are you doing it? Because it means something completely different to knowing it and to doing it. So as we go through this, I want you to go, am I actually doing this? Am I actually taking the action that I need to create the future that I want to create? Because there are no get-rich-quick schemes. There are no silver bullets. Despite what people will market to you on YouTube and on Facebook, I seem to get a million messages this week saying, here's Kitty Cat's special group that 1.6 billion pounds worth of money is going to be created by investors if you just invest in this one stock. And they're all pitching get rich quick schemes. And what I found from my past is I used to spend more time researching the get rich quick scheme than I did if I'd have just taken the actions. I would have been further on.
And that applies to other things other than money as well, right? It's like,
I
want the silver bullet that's going to get me in tip-top health, or the silver bullet, the one thing that's going to make my family happy and we'll all be harmonious together. It doesn't work.
Doesn't exist. Exactly. Lindsay's laughing at me because I can't say get rich quick scheme quickly, and she's correct. And Sarah says slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Mm-hmm. So what we're starting with tonight is you can have anything you want in life, asterisks, if you're willing to pay the price up front and in full, because everything has a price, and we don't mean financially. Actually, nearly all of the time, it's not a financial price. It's a time, energy, and commitment price. That's the things it's going to cost you. And if you're willing to pay that price, you can create just about anything you want to. And that's what we want you to do, and we want to help you do, is to create an amazing 2025. That's the whole plan of the workshop.
If you are watching live, we have a sneak peek of a music album that we've been working on, which if you're in the Zoom call, stick around to the end and you can hear some of the music we'll be creating, which will be very cool.
Exactly. We won't be playing it on YouTube because we're not quite ready to release it yet, but there's space in the Zoom to come over if you're interested. So after we've finished, we'll end YouTube and we've got our sneak peek of our new music album. So what's coming up tonight? The plan, Katie.
So we're going to talk about what happened in 2024. What positives can you pull through from 2024?
We've got your vision for 2025, where you're heading.
Then it will be some advice that future you might have for current you, which would be interesting.
We'll look to pick 3 goals, 3 things to focus on.
Then we're going to start with the why for those 3 goals. Why do you want to make them happen?
We've got a lot of it on how to get stuff done, the most efficient way to get things done.
And then it's how to stay on track once you've set a course. And then we're going to have a really cool commitment ceremony at the end,
which we are going to play along with because we need to commit to our goals. And everything we're sharing you with tonight is how we run our lives. And if we don't do it, like, we have to commit just the same as everyone else.
So what was your 2024 like? Did it feel like this and you were dancing down the streets because it was so wonderful and lots of wonderful things happened? Or was it the year when Mr. Poop met Mrs. Fan and it all went a little bit wrong? Was it like an intermediate year? Did some good stuff happen? Did some average stuff happen? Were there some real challenges? I'm sure there were, because challenges are part of life. But what was your 2024 like? And however it was, there will have been something positive that happened. Even if it was the most terrible year of your life, perhaps the positive thing is that you survived it.
And that or you learned something, you got something out of the year.
Exactly. And what's something you could be proud of that happened in 2024, big or small? And we just want to build on that success that you've already had in 2024. So we've got some stuff coming in the chat. Prem said, definitely Poop hit the fan, but out of the quagmire came a phoenix of a plan for our future.
I love that. Louise paid off a loan. Susan retired early. Round of applause. Personal growth, financial education. Rakesh increased net worth. Kit got finances under control. Annie came to Rebel Business School.
Fiona said, my twin baby grandsons were born. They're very small, but hanging in there.
Oh, wow.
Atkins set up a business. Lee had a trip to New York and a visit to family in Syracuse. Karen paid off a loan and 1 credit card. Amazing. At Antonics, we made major changes, sold our house and started our new nomadic life. Wow, that's
come and hang out in Mexico.
Vicky started nursing again.
Yeah, people have made so much progress. And like, what we wanted to do was start today with, you've actually done really well to make it to this point. Now let's turbocharge it and go even further from here. I love that. That's the plan. Okay, this is me obviously celebrating with a pineapple. 2024 was a great year for us. The market went up. We ran Rebel Finance School. 10,000 people came from 40 countries. Like, it just filled our hearts with joy helping people. And these messages are definitely filling our hearts with joy. So let's move on now to 2026. And there is a concept from Stephen Covey. He said, begin with the end in mind. Have you heard that? Begin with the end in mind. And the whole concept is, you can't start until you can see what the end would be like. You would never start building a house until you have a drawing or an image of what it'll be like when you finish. So what we want to do is create a vision for what the year will look like by the end. Then we can work backwards and start to work towards creating exactly what we want 2025 to be like.
So you might be thinking, well, I've only just started 2025 and got to grips with the fact that it's 2025 and you're asking me to think about 2026. And what I would say is, let's spotlight for everyone so that they can see us. And what I would say is, I would invite you to close your eyes just as soon as you feel like it, because we're going to start thinking and imagining what it's like at the end of 2025. You're celebrating as 2025 rolls into 2026 and you're grinning ear to ear. Yeah, you're allowed to have that smile play on your face right now, because it's been your best year ever. You think back to the workshop you went to in January, run by those 2 strange, mildly attractive British people. What were their names again?
Dave and Jeff.
Dave and Jeff. So much has happened since that day. The day you decided this was to be your year, your most epic year of your life so far. It's been a remarkable year. Knowing it's been such a wonderful year, what's happened to your health? How do you feel in your body? Does your body look different in some way? What energy do you have to make stuff happen? What's happened with your money? Are you finally out of debt and feel like a weight's been taken off your shoulders? Maybe you've got a fully funded emergency fund and you're ready to start investing. Maybe it's just that you feel finally in control. You know where your money's going and you have a plan for how to start to build wealth. What's happened in your relationships? How have you shown up for the people you love? How have you shown up for yourself? What kind of parent, sibling, son or daughter, cousin, aunt, uncle, next door neighbour have you been? Who have you been for the people you care about? What new friends have you made? How have they made you feel? Who did you meet? Who did you spend more time with? Who did you spend less time with? Maybe you even met a special someone with lovely eyes. And a smile forms on your face at the thought of all the wonderful people you've attracted into your life in 2025. What fun have you had in 2025? How much did you laugh in 2025? Maybe you can feel a little giggle gurgling up from your belly right now. Who made you laugh? Who did you make laugh? Who was surrounding you? Who was there for you when you were so happy and excited about life? What adventures did you go on? Did you travel somewhere new? Did you travel somewhere you've already been to before? Did you explore your back garden because you hadn't really noticed how wonderful the place that you live in already is? What new things did you try? What hobbies did you start or restart? Where are you living? Who are you living with? What's the environment around you like? What are your belongings like? Do you feel kind of cluttered in, or do you feel a sense of a nice minimalist around you? Like, what is it that your environment is, and how is that supporting you and where you want to be in your life? How have things gone at work, or with your business, or with your mission? Did you make that big sale? Did you get the big promotion? Did you just start somehow and get that first job in the industry that you're excited about being in? Who did you help through your job or your work? What have you learned? What books did you read? What courses did you go on? What podcasts did you listen to? How have you grown as a person? What's happened with your passion projects? Who have you helped? What impact have you had on the people around you? What did you finally get around to doing in 2025 that you've been putting off? You know what it is. There's something you've been putting off, but you're so excited because you're so proud of yourself that you actually committed to doing it and got it done in 2025. What did you find the courage to start doing? What did you find the courage to stop doing in 2025 that drastically improved your life? What are you so glad you did? Maybe you've stopped saying some mean things to yourself. Maybe you've started saying some really positive things to yourself. Maybe this was the year you finally started being nice to yourself. You smile at the challenges and setbacks that you overcame along the way. You're smiling because you know you didn't give up, that you didn't give in when things got tough. There were plenty of challenges, but you threw yourself into them. What did you really do that changed your life for the better? And how does it feel knowing that you played full out and you made 2025 the best year you could have ever imagined? Okay, I'd love you to open your eyes and write down a few of the things that came to you during that exercise. What were the headlines? What were the things that came up that you were like, blimey, where did that come from? That's interesting. Like, what came up for you during that exercise? Who are you at the end of 2025?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you start to think through who do you want to be, what do you want to have happened, and this is the thing that you then go off and build. And for me, the things that came up were we will have published our first book. That's a huge goal that I want to do. We will have released our first music album, which I didn't even know was a goal a year ago. And I will have lost belly fat and weight. That's my target. I enjoyed New York, LA, and New Zealand a little bit too much, and that has to change direction. I love the fact someone has unmuted and laughed at that.
Oh, I love
it's
a giggle.
So true. We love a good giggle.
Patricia's got on top of my health. There's more giggling come. Where's this giggling coming from? This is very exciting. I love the giggling. Patricia says, got on top of my health, spending lots of time singing at great gigs and having lots of great adventures with my partner. That's wonderful.
I love that. Patricia, send us one of your songs. We want to hear.
Bethany says in 2025 wrote 10 clear, engaging blog posts and maybe even published them for the world to read. I think you did publish them, Bethany.
Maybe.
Why being so selfish, keeping that wisdom to yourself?
Yeah, let's change the word maybe.
What else we got? Adventures with family and friends, says Gareth and Naomi.
Giving up eating UPF food has been amazing for my health and happiness. I'm not sure. Ultra processed food. Yes. Now I know exactly what that is. We've been doing exactly the same and having vegetables this year. So basically what we want to do is take this vision and go, okay, what are some of the things we're really committed to doing? What are the things we're absolutely going to make happen? Kit Cole wrote more dinner parties in to replace going to restaurants. I love that. Kerry's going to fall in love with a spreadsheet and track her spending with zero stress and anxiety, with much happiness. Like, what are the 3 things that you're really going to make happen? And it doesn't really matter what they are. Clem put, take my dream trip to Saudi Arabia. And what we actually really want you to get is these don't have to be worthy goals in terms of get promoted, make $1 million, whatever it is. It's what lights you up, whether it's a dream trip, getting a massage, doing this. Gareth and Naomi wrote meet the Donegans in Wales. I love that goal. We're going to do a tour of the UK when we come back, and we are absolutely coming to Wales to meet you.
I nearly diminished myself then and said, come on, you can set your sights a bit higher than that, but it'll be fun.
Gail said Scotland too. Yes, Scotland too. Laurie's new goal is to spend Christmas in Mexico. We might have some tips on how to do that, having done it twice. It's amazing. Yeah, Paul's take my family to Disney in Florida. These are the goals that really light you up. That's the stuff we need to put on the list and create.
What I'd love you to do is, if you haven't already done so, jot them down in your notebook. I love that you've put them in the chat, but I also want you to keep this and to feel it. So if you put it in your phone, or like even better, pen and paper, write it down. It's got a different feeling, hasn't it, when you write it with pen and paper rather than your phone. But if you just got your phone, put that in there, because this is so important to have it clear what you're doing.
I love that. John put change from a distant person to a hugger. That's actually fantastic. Like, if your goal is to become closer to people, what a fantastic goal. Just make sure it's consensual hugging. It's always good. Fiona says, will you come to Republic of Ireland? Yes, I want to come to Ireland, and Seattle and Nottingham. I don't know if we'll make it to Seattle, but Nottingham we definitely will.
Seattle's not in the UK.
I do,
okay,
yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to the next bit, Katie?
Yes. So the other thing that we wanted you to do was, having done that exercise and you've thought about who you are, what you've become, what you've done and achieved in 2025. So you now, at the beginning of 2025, you don't know quite what's going to happen, how it's going to go. And you at the end of 2025 might have some wisdom to share with you that's sitting here now. So
exactly.
As you're imagining that, maybe it's something as simple as just remember to have fun, Katie. Remember to have fun along the way. Or maybe it's just like, remember to be kind to yourself and gentle, and remember that you're human and things happen. Like, what is it that current you needs to hear from the version of you that has been through all these amazing challenges and achieved these goals, what is it that you can tell current you from the wisdom that you've got from that year that you've had?
Exactly. Kelly put have more dates with hubby Richard. I love that. Book them in and make it happen. One person wants to learn to do the Rubik's Cube. Remember to laugh more and worry less. Norfolk Paul says have coffee with us. We're coming to Norfolk, which I love.
I assume Paul's in Norfolk. It would
have
been the title.
Yeah, you never know.
Michelle's advice to current self is it's okay to put yourself and your future self first.
Exactly, Michelle. And I think everyone should listen to that piece of advice. It's okay to work on your happiness. It will actually do a really good thing for everyone around you.
Tasneem says, don't stress about money, trust the process. Atkins, be in the moment more. Kat says the advice would be to embrace every moment, stay connected with friends and family, and spread joy.
Exactly.
I love this. Cleem says, believe more in your capabilities.
Exactly.
Diana, go to bed earlier, before 10:30 p.m.
Yes, definitely. Sleep has become one of our absolute priorities.
Karen, remember, no one is perfect. We all need help sometimes. It's a team game.
It really is.
Angela says, don't always focus on saving, start to spend a little.
Yes, which depending on where you are on your financial journey, when you're starting out, you might actually want to focus on saving, and you get to the stage where you've saved a lot, invested a lot, then it turns to how can I spend my money to have more fun? So it does change depending on where you are.
I love it as well. Sarah's reminding herself, look how far you've come already. So you now, look what you've achieved already, and you're just going to put a little bit more icing on the cake in 2025.
So we're going to move on to the next bit, which is how do you actually make this vision happen? How do you actually take these ideas and turn it into action? And what we'd love you to do is pick 3 things that you actually want to make happen. These are the 3 things that you want to make happen. And our suggestion is, one is a work, a mission, a business, like one thing that you think like, that's what I want to do there. One thing in life. And we left it purposefully broad so you can fill that in. It might be finances, it might be spending more time with family, it might be like the dates with the hubby. Hopefully you like your hubby. If you don't, maybe it is get a new hubby. Doesn't really matter. What's a life goal? And then the final area is one adventure, because Katie and I are actually very big on at the moment, people forget to have fun. And we want you to enjoy 2025. We want you to have fun. So one in each one doesn't really matter. And we're not going to hold you to this yet. Like, just come up with your first best guess and you can refine as you get going. That's it.
And actually, that's our suggestion, to have one in those 3 areas. But as Lindsay said, that's really hard. I've got so many in the life category. If that's a big priority for you, Lindsay, then like
you could pick 2 or 3 from the life category.
Yeah, this is just our suggestion to kind of get you thinking. You don't have to follow exactly what we said there.
Ajaliki said, get married, which I love as a goal. I would just tweak that goal, and I think this is an important bit. Getting married relies on someone else, which is out of your control. So actually, if you can change that goal to become the type of person that someone would want to marry, that's something in your control that you can actually do. It's tough sometimes when the goal is outside of your control. So bring it into your control, become the type of person that Martin would love to marry. I don't know why I picked on Martin. It's the only name I saw on the screen. Lisa's like...
I think Martin's already committed.
I think Lisa's
anyway,
like... No.
I suppose it depends as well if you already have someone, you know, that you've agreed to get married to, and it's just like making the party happen and things. I don't know.
Yes. Lindsay says, are adventures always big? No, they can be small adventures. Play a escape room, build an escape room for your friend.
It might be go for a picnic with my kids in the park. It might be like make a really nice family meal happen once a week. That can be an adventure as well.
Exactly. Elisa says, what's one suggestion for life goals? I probably have too much on the working section. And life goals might be work on your finances, create a better relationship with your partner.
Health is a big one.
Health is a massive one. There's so many things there.
Agaliki, that didn't go well as I was on loudspeaker and my partner heard it. It was the one about getting married.
So Agaliti is married and Martin is married. Great. We've moved on quickly. Okay. And then what we need to do really is to amp up these things so that you're excited, because the size of your excitement actually creates the energy and the motivation to be able to do it. So instead of write book, you might put, I'm going to write the best book I possibly can that will help change people's lives. Or instead of lose weight, you might have, I'm going to create a fitness and energy in my body that will create the power to do what I want to do in my life. But you need to take a standard goal and turn it into something that really gets you excited. Because if you read, like I love the goal, Bethany put life goal, cut back on coffee and alcohol, which is great. And what's the purpose of that? So that you wake up full of energy, excited to do the day. That's the goal, that's the thing, and you feel so excited you want to go and do it. So we want to amp up these things so that it makes us feel excited. And I've given you some of the words that excite me, but you'll have to find the words that excite you from within you. Like, what are the words that really will make you go, yes, this is it?
Agaliki says eat less chocolate. There's a typo and it says rat less chocolate. And I think as well, it's important to frame it in the positive, isn't
yes,
it? So
move towards.
So sorry to pick on you, Bethany, but on the example of cut back on coffee and alcohol, and a reason for picking on you and that one is because I feel like it's going to be really useful for everyone to learn. So thank you so much for putting that in the chat. Is what would be the positive way of framing it, rather than like, I'm not going to drink coffee, not going to drink alcohol. It kind of makes you start to focus on those things more, isn't it? Maybe it's like, I'm going to drink plenty of water and green juices or something like that. So what is it that you're going to do instead, and moving towards that? Because the whole time that you're thinking about what you don't want, it's going to make you just think about it all the time. So what is it that you're positively moving towards? And that can apply in not just the life goals, but in all other areas as well. It's like work, be less bored. You're just going to be thinking about being bored. It's like, be excited at work and I can't wait to get there, and I jump out of bed on a Monday morning because I know that I'm helping people and it's an awesome work that I have.
Exactly. And we had a fantastic goal here that I wanted to highlight. Essay said 5 pull-ups, and then they expanded it to amp it up, saying, be the strongest version of myself so that I can save my children from a bear or random danger.
Love it.
I love that. What great energy. Be the strongest version of myself. And if you can find a goal that makes you feel really excited, Bethany's gone, pick away on me. I'm going to cut back on coffee and alcohol so that I am free from substances that could become addictive, so my life belongs to me. Now that has way more power, and that's the whole purpose of this section, is to create the power inside of you to go for it, the energy. Lindsay says this is interesting. Wake up full of energy touches on lots of things: getting deep, restful sleep, eating well, exercise, drinking water, connecting with nature. Yeah, find the thing that drags you forwards, that makes it easy to do the actions that you need to do. Okay.
Let's move on to the next bit.
The next bit. When do most people set goals every year? Do you know what day of the year most people set goals?
1st of Jan, New Year. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying.
31st of December.
New Year.
Yeah. It is New Year's. And do you know when most people give up on those goals? Fiona says 6th of Jan.
People are so optimistic for people, isn't it? The 2nd of Jan.
It's actually
as bad as that.
It's called National Quitters Day. It's actually a thing. It's called National Quitters Day, and it happens in 8 days' time on January the 14th. Like, they last 2 weeks. So that's a huge problem that we actually need to know about, because Katie and I want this to be a workshop that you come to that gets you motivated and excited and then carries through. Because actually we want that for ourselves. But people give up so quickly. And one of the main reasons they give up is what we call incongruency. And what that means is the goal doesn't match with someone's identity, their values, their beliefs. They don't believe it's possible, and all of those different things. So let me give you a quick example. If your vision is to own a business, and I was working with a lady coaching her, and this was her vision, own a business, but she said in her own words, I am the furthest thing possible from a business person. I am the furthest thing possible from a salesperson. So her identity did not support her goal or her vision, and it became so hard to make progress. And that's the key bit. We had another friend who said, I want to be healthy, I want to lose weight, but I'm a fat person and nothing I do works. Like, that identity stopped them from taking action to move towards the goal they wanted to get to. And they were more committed to their identity and arguing they were right than they were to making change. Then the final one, we've met lots of people who say, I want deep connection, but I am an introvert. And they're so committed to that identity that they're more willing to argue that they're an introvert than they are to open up to the possibility that they could change that. And Lindsay made a very good point in the chat. She asked the question, can you change an identity? The answer is yes. You can absolutely change an identity. Is it super simple? No. It's something you need to focus on and work on consistently over time, but you can absolutely change an identity and pick a new one. I have gone from being, when I was younger, like super young, 12, 14, I was the shyest, most nervous person you could meet. I couldn't talk to strangers. I would sweat. I would hide under the table. I hated it. I struggled massively. But at some stage, I made the realization that if I wanted someone nice in my life, I would have to talk to strangers. And I decided that I would change and I would become more confident. So I totally believe that you can change your mindset, you can change your identity. And this is actually what this important section is about alignment. Because if you're not aligned at these different levels, you'll never get the goal. So to give you the example, the different levels, we have your goal, your idea, your vision of the future. We have your identity, which is the things where you say, I am, which this is where people have goals to get with their good with their money, but then they say, I'm not good with numbers. And that then stops them from being able to make progress. You've got your values. What's important to you? This is where you've got someone who says, my goal is to have great finances, but they don't value money, the finances, so they never actually work on it. You've got your beliefs. Like, what do you believe about life? We had an incredible lady come on Rebel Finance School. Her goal was to sort out her finance, but she didn't believe it was possible for a single mum to fix their finances. Well, that's a direct working against what you're doing. And if you don't believe it's possible, you're definitely not going to follow through to take action. We can debate all day long whether it is or isn't possible. What we want to do is help you align these things so you can move towards what you want to do. Skills. Do you have the necessary skills? Like, if it's a finance goal, have you learned how to invest? Have you learned all of these different things? What's the skill? What's the behaviours you're doing daily? And this is a fascinating one. Quite often people say they have a goal and then their behaviours don't match up. So for me, in November this year, I said I had a goal of being slimmer and healthier, and then I would eat chocolate in the evening. Can you see how my goal and my behaviors did not line up? And this is something for you to notice about what you're doing. Are your day-to-day actions lining up with what you actually want to do? Martin and Lita says, yes, but chocolate is so tasty. You are right. But doing it every night at large volumes does not help you to remain thin.
I think it's okay in moderation, isn't it? Kathy, I'm sorry about the pineapple lumps. Yeah, when we were in New Zealand, we had lots of wonderful gifts of pineapple lumps and chocolates, which people gave us, which I loved. And I enjoyed every moment of it.
Exactly, exactly. And then the final one is your environment. Your environment, is your environment lined up with your goals? So if your goal is to be good with your finances, have you got all your paperwork sorted and all your passwords sorted and you know how to access things? If your goal is to be fit and healthy, have you removed all of the stuff from the cupboard that stops you from doing that you know you're going to snack on in the evening? Angela says, oh my God, do you have a hidden camera in my house with a chocolate bar? That's the piece. Does your environment actually match up with what you're doing? So those are the levels.
And we do actually go into this in a lot more detail in week 3 of Rebel Finance School, which is the bit about beliefs. So if there's some of these bits that you want to delve into more that we don't quite have time for in this workshop, that would be a good place to go, wouldn't it, for a bit more detail on what these different levels mean?
It definitely would. And that week talks only about finance, really, but it's the same thing that you can apply to health, you can apply to fitness, all of those things. And I actually have an exercise for you all. And what I suggest is you ask AI for help. You probably weren't expecting me to say that. Neither was I about a year ago. But AI is an incredible tool. So I want to suggest a prompt. And this is a prompt I have used to help me. And the prompt is, my goal is, and then insert what your goal is. Can you help me check whether I am congruent, i.e. lined up, with this goal in the areas of identity, values, beliefs, skills, behaviours, and environment? And I can put this in the Facebook group for you afterwards, or I can share it, or you can take a picture. But am I lined up on that? Please, can you ask me a set of questions to uncover if there is any incongruence, and then help me to overcome it and give me the best chance of reaching my goal? And it is incredible what you discover when you ask that. It's absolutely incredible. So I actually want to show you doing this. This was my goal. Like, my goal is to write a book about being the hero of your own personal finances and sell thousands of copies to help more people. And then you've got the same prompt there. So I am actually going to
I was going to do a live demo showing you the AI and how it does it and what it comes back with, so that you can figure out how you can use that to give you some ideas that you never would have thought of. Because if you keep, you can't necessarily always see what your blind spots are. So using AI, it does help to come up with ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. And that's something that you've started to use more recently, isn't it?
Yeah, it's created an incredible impact. It really has. So I have stopped share. We're heading over to AI to do this right now. This is the bit where, as a live workshop, we work together and everything is good as Alan clicks lots of buttons.
What he's done is he's just copied that prompt that he had about his goal of writing the book, and then
this is Copilot. I don't care which AI you use. There are so many different ones out there. You can use ChatGPT, you can use anything. This is Copilot, and I literally have copied that prompt in and pressed go. And then it goes off and generates a set of questions, which actually are different every time you do this, which is quite interesting. But it creates these questions for you. Number one, how do you see yourself in relation to personal finance? Do you consider yourself an expert, a learner, or somewhere in between? Number two, what experiences have shaped your identity in the realm of personal finance? Ask you these questions that really help to understand you. And the process that I do is I copy out these questions into like whatever, a little notebook. And then I go through the questions and write my answers. And I sort of number them for AI, and I come back in and I paste my answers back into AI, give it my answers, and then it will then reply going, I think this, I think that, this is what you can do next. And it's absolutely phenomenal how it helps you work through those different things. One of the things I then did was ask a prompt, what are the incongruencies you can spot? What might stop me from reaching these goals? And it was able to see, because like we can't see our own blind spots. And that I think is one of the most important things is you and I can't see our own blind spots, but AI seems to be able to take what you've put in and say, I think this doesn't match with this. This doesn't match with that. And it's an incredible tool for being able to do that. And I wanted to share it with you because it has changed the way I look at my goals and helped me to work through them all. And I ask AI, I have a notebook open and I copy between the two. And I highly recommend you have a play with AI and that prompt. And we've got some more coming up for you afterwards to help you go through all of these different goals.
Derek had an awesome shout. He said, there's another suggestion if you're using these AI tools like ChatGPT. If there's a better question I could ask, please suggest it to me. If there's something I haven't thought of, suggest it. Because it's right, the framing of the question is important, isn't it? So there might be an even better way or a way that gets different answers. So thank you, Derek, for that suggestion.
Yeah, great suggestion.
And Fiona, thank you for putting that in the chat in YouTube, and it's in the chat in Zoom, and I'll add it to the description of the video if you're watching on catch up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Claire says, what's the follow-up question you suggested? The follow-up question I've used is, what incongruences have you spotted that you think would stop me reaching my goal? And it will literally tell you, sometimes it gives you a short answer and you can say, give me the top 10 incongruencies you've spotted. And it might repeat itself a bit, but at least then you've stretched it to create as many answers as you can to help you. And it really does work well. Lisa suggests tell AI to ask me the questions one by one and wait for my reply before proceeding. You can absolutely do that. I get it to ask me all the questions and then I'll work through it in a notebook and go back to it. But however it works for you, that's the best thing to do.
People are excited to give it a go, they're saying in the chat, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It makes such a difference and it will help you to uncover some of the incongruencies that you might have.
The next thing to do is to check between your goals, are they congruent? Meaning, are they both aligned and pulling you in the same direction? So maybe one of your goals is to just be chill and do nothing. And your other goal is, I want to be a best-selling author and write this amazing book.
Like, how do those play together? How do they work? Maybe the goal is to spend as much time as possible with your kids, but you also want to be a triathlete. And we've actually seen a friend do this where they're training for a triathlon and they're so exhausted they fall asleep on Sunday afternoons and can't spend time with the kids. So it's like, you have to check, does this goal bring me to where you need to go? And what you definitely don't want to happen is to be stuck in purgatory. And what we mean by that is the people who've chosen a goal, but their identity doesn't match, it's not what they actually want, they're struggling, and then they're pulled apart by those two things, and they're stuck in the middle. So if you can find alignment, it is amazing how much more progress you will make on your goals. Absolutely amazing. Cool. the last thing I wanted to say on this is you can have everything. You'll notice there's an asterisk at the end.
You always putting caveats on things. It's like, I can have everything, I can have whatever I want in life, and then you make me do some work for it.
Yeah, just not all at once. You can have everything, just not all at once. And that actually really infuriates me too. But we have to realize we can't do everything all at once. You've got time to do it as you go, but not all at once.
So Lindsay's asking about, we gave the example of someone that wanted to spend many hours a week training for a triathlon, but also wanting to spend time with the kids. So she's saying, does that mean you might need to ditch a goal?
Sometimes you might actually need to ditch a goal to focus on what's most important to you. Yes. And it's better to ditch a goal and like not tear yourself to pieces than it is to try and do everything, which is why we keep coming back to this idea of like, do one thing at once, focus on that one thing and keep going. If there is a way that you can train for it with your kids at the same time and make it work, like you can definitely explore that. But sometimes it's worth putting off a goal or pausing it and focusing on the most important thing first. Okay, Katie, why should we start with why?
Why? The why is so important. The why is what's going to keep you going when you have those challenges. Yes, there will be challenges, there will be obstacles, there will be problems. That's part of the process. So having that big, really clear, juicy why is what's going to keep you going. It's the why that's so important. So often we want to jump into the how really quickly, like, how am I going to make this happen? But if you don't have a strong why, it doesn't matter. Whatever comes up is just going to stop you from going like, oh, that's a bit too hard, isn't it? Your why needs to be big, it needs to be juicy and epic and inspirational and have like the power behind it.
Yes, with a big enough why, any how is possible. And that's what you need to discover is your why is your motivation, it's your drive. And if you've got that, it's incredible how much of a difference it makes. And lots of times we say on the course that size is not important, but the size of your why is very important. If you don't have a big reason to do the goal, you will never find the energy to be able to do it. So that's the critical bit, is to find that why and that energy. And
I wanted to add something, is Alan said to like find the why. It's kind of made up, isn't it?
It's completely made up.
It's just you make it up and use the language and use like play like psychological tricks on yourself to make it exciting and to use language. Language is one of the key things that make something more exciting. Why do I want to write this book? I want to change lives and impact future generations of people of being good with their money, and I want to help people save their marriages because they're not on the same page with their partner about money, and this is really going to help them. And just listing loads of different whys, like what's it going to do for your health, for your finances, for your relationships, for who you become. It needs to be this big juicy why. It needs to be spicy and juicy, Alan.
And that's the same whether it's like someone put in the chat earlier about having more dates with their partner. Like, have a reason why. Because you want to have more fun, because you want to connect, because you want to bring back more joy into your relationship. Like, have that great reason why for whatever the goal is. Even if your goal is to sit on the beach and do nothing, why? Mm-hmm. Like, then you have a real reason why you're more likely to follow through. And here is the prompt that I've used to help me to uncover my why. So I put, my goal is, can you help me to uncover my motivation and really help me create a vision and reason for doing this that will motivate me through all the ups and downs that are to come? Please ask me a set of questions to help me understand myself and my motivation deeply. Katie's put the prompt in the chat.
It will be in the description as well if you're watching on Catch Up.
Yes. And we did have someone in the chat on YouTube saying, did Mr. Bogle and Buffett need AI? I think what they were trying to say is you don't need this to make progress, and you're absolutely right, you don't. However, why would you not use an innovative new tool to help you make more progress quickly?
I guess it's like saying, did our generations before, did they have a washing machine to wash their clothes? And it's like, no, but
they toughed it out.
Now that I have it, why not use it to make my life easier and come up with more creative ways of doing things?
Let's be honest, I love our washing machine. It's one of my favourite appliances. Having been nomadic and not having a washing machine at time, I have a newfound love for washing machines.
That's your favourite appliance. What's your second favourite?
Probably the tumble dryer. Moving on. We're changing sections, how to actually get stuff done. So we're completely changing sections. So this is to apply to those goals that you have. We're going to start with the project list. Katie, what is a project list?
Project list is where we have a list of our projects.
Yeah.
But more
Aren't you not
importantly,
many use the words in the description of what it is?
it's a list of what we're trying to make happen.
Yes.
It's a list of what we're working on. And we really want you to get is the difference between a project and the next action. And what a lot of people do is they'll have a list of things and they get overwhelmed because they'll have a mixture of projects and actions on there. So we'll come on to exactly what that means, but what we'll have is we'll have the project, what's the overall thing that we're trying to achieve, maybe some notes in there, what's been happening, what's going on, and then a next action. Alan, tell us more about that, please.
Okay. The key bit is to get unstuck so we can make progress. And you do not need to know every step of the journey to be able to start. You just need to know what's the next important thing that I've got to do. And actually, you will never know the whole journey until you start. So it is, here's my goal. What's the specific next action?
So goal and project, you're kind of using interchangeably here. Right?
Yeah, the goal, the project, the thing, doesn't really matter what term you use, but then it's what's the next action. And it does take a bit of brain power to work out the next action sometimes. So to give you an example, some people like have on their project list, write book. Like, well, that is a huge project. What's the next action? Do you know what the book is about? Have you started to write it? Do you need to research it? Like, you have to actually come all the way down from the very top to what is the specific thing I'm going to do? And maybe it is brainstorm with AI what the subject it is. Maybe it is write out the chapters. It doesn't really matter what it is, but it's like taking it down to the specific next action. And it takes some brain power to do that, which is why people get hung up at that point and then don't do it. They just kind of try and jump in and start, but you've got to work out the next action before you start. So to give you examples, Katie and I and a friend said, okay, we want to create the world's first financial independence music album. Yes, that seems like a strange goal to everyone, including me, but I was up for it.
So what's think it's that strange?
Yeah, it is very cool. It felt very strange to me because I've never done a music album before. We were like, what's the next action? Well, the next action actually was to brainstorm ideas for the tracks. So we literally sat down and wrote ideas for the tracks. And once we've done that, you then go, okay, what's the next action? What's the next action? And it's one simple thing at once. To give you another example, lots of people say, my project is I'm going to get my money invested. What's the action? It might feel small, but take your first fiver, tenner, and invest it. Open the account. The next action is go to Interactive Investor, Vanguard, and open the account and start. But it's taking the big lofty goal and going, what's the very small thing that you can take? Missy says, sad Katie is very sad. Yes, because quite often people are like, oh, this is such a small action, so they don't feel motivated to do it. You have to hold in mind the big goal and then take the small action because that's what leads you to the big goal. Never get sad that you only did one small thing. That is the whole point.
So me on that slide actually should be showing as like super happy and excited because that's how you build this life that you're working towards, having joy. So bad Katie for looking sad at that action. Be happy.
Exactly. Kelly says compounding your actions delivers your project. That is exactly it.
Janet, what do you use to track these projects and actions?
We use Microsoft OneNote. It's like a free note-taking tool. You could use anything you like. It doesn't really matter. You could use a notebook. You could use Evernote. Derek says Notion. Notion is a free tool to do these things. It doesn't really matter what you use. You just want some kind of a thing to have project, notes, and actions. That's it. It really, really helps.
So to help embed this, we've got a little exercise for you, and we're going to go through some various things, and you're going to have to tell us, is it a project or is it an action? So put a P or an A in the chat for each of these. So first one, build business.
Project or action?
P for project, A for action. Getting a bunch of P's coming in.
We have a bunch of P's, including some private P's, which I do like it when people privately message us.
A private P.
Esther says P. Kelly says O. I think she missed
the P. That might be
a
typo. The O is next to the P on the keyboard.
Okay. Make sales call. Project or action? People are putting action. I guess it depends. Do you know who you're calling? Do you have their phone number? You know that thing of sometimes you put make sales call, but you don't actually have the number. So the next action is get phone number or work out who I'm calling.
Yeah.
But if you actually have the phone number, you know who you're calling, then it is 100% a next action. 100% next action. Okay, call Jeff about. Call Jeff about dinner out. Yeah, everyone's putting action. That is exactly, that is an action.
It's like a clear thing you can go and do.
You can actually just call Jeff, as long as you have Jeff's phone number and a phone, which is the thing. Like, if you've got the things, then it's the next action. Okay, invest £100, project or action?
P/A, we've got depends, a few P's, a few A's. I think it depends where you are in the process. If you've already decided how exactly you're going to invest, you've done all the research, you've got all your ducks lined up, and then it's, to me, if you haven't figured that out, that's a project. If you have figured that out and it's like, I literally have to go log in, press go on my £100, that would be an action.
Yes. If you've already got an ISA, a SIP, a 401k, and you know what you're going to invest it in, that is an action. If you don't have that, it is absolutely a project. And Oster says, do you have a brokerage account open? Do you know the fund? Do you know how to do it? If your bank account already synced to it? Exactly. If that's already set up, then it's an action. If it's not, it's a project. And this kind of like, this is what actually catches people out, because they write invest £100 on their to-do list, on their project list, but it's not actually an action. There's a bunch of stuff you have to do before it. So what you need to do is always go back to, what's the simplest possible thing that I need to do to make this happen? What's the actual next step to do?
I need to give a shout out to Anita, who said, I did it during this meeting. I invested £100.
How did you do that, Anita? She's multitasking. More on that later.
Sam says yak shaving. I'm really not sure what that relates to, but I love the comment. Please explain.
Yeah, Polly says it's pleasant when it comes to action, definitely. Is organised birthday party project or action?
A lot of P's.
Yeah,
it's a project.
100% a project.
Major project.
It depends how big your birthday party is.
Frieda's got some backstory about birthday parties.
Definitely. Final one, spend 15 minutes planning. Action or project? Yeah, it's an action. So organised birthday party might be the project, and the next action is spend 15 minutes planning. That's the little bit. That's the key. So this is kind of how we represent it in our notebook. We have a project, notes, and an action, and we have like project, publish UK platform review article, which we need to do. Notes, Vanguard have put their fees up, and we want to guide people to alternatives if they're not ready for it. And then the final one is, we actually need to agree on the scope of article. Like Katie and I need to talk about what's actually going into it. That's our next action. Otherwise, like, we just won't get there.
Next project was review our 2024 finances. And then in the notes, we'll put things like, we want to review our spending. And then wanted to highlight this. So we use a little different icon if it's something that we're waiting for, either because time needs to pass for something to happen, or you're waiting for someone to get back to you. So we're saying like we're waiting for all the data to come through on our credit cards, and we'll do this in early Jan. So you just capture like, well, I can't quite do this yet because I'm waiting for this. We'll use things like that when we've sent an email or rang someone and not heard back from them.
We're waiting for that person.
So we'll be like, email Jeff on Tuesday, I'm waiting for an answer. And then when we come back to review it, it'll be like, okay, did Jeff reply? Yes, no. Let's figure out what the next action would be depending on what's happened.
Yes. And then we've got Sam came back. Yak shaving is when you start a simple task and then you need to do something to do the something. And then that thing needs something before you can do it. And that happens regularly, but that's what we actually need to break through is what's the very simple thing to start. Anita says, I love how simple this is. I always overcomplicate. Yeah, you just need what the next action is. That's the key bit.
Ruth says, do you keep a record of completed actions or do you delete them and move on? I like to keep a little done section so we can see the progress we've made because it makes us feel happy.
Yeah, so we take it out and I put it in a list called done yay. Done. Yay!
We have yay a lot in our lives.
Yeah, and then we just have a big list and it's there and it, like we can look back and go, oh yeah, we did do a lot and we feel better about it.
And then the final one is world domination. We want to conquer the world as part of our evil galactic empire. Next action, put advert on Facebook for hench people.
Yes.
So it's clear to say, okay, this is our overall vision. This is the next specific action so that when I come to look in that column, I can pick off which one of those I have energy to do.
Exactly. Gail says she will apply for being an evil hench person.
I love ML. Oh, I'm so glad I said this. This was a great opportunity. I should have said next action for published UK platform review article. Ask people to help. Should have put that.
And Janet says, what if you have lots of actions? Janet, one thing at once. So you just want to put the next action. Once you've done that, you can then work out the next one and the next one. When I first started doing this, I would write everything I had to do in the actions bit and feel overwhelmed. What we need to do is just do the next action, then we can work out what comes from there. And that's the key piece to moving on.
Gareth asks, what's the salary for a hench person? Unlimited supply of pineapples for the rest of your life.
Exactly. And Like It's Golden on YouTube says, ha, let's build the Death Star together. I wasn't expecting that. I love it.
What's the key here, Alan? What are we trying to say?
Having clear next actions on the project list makes it easy to pick things off. You know, when you're tired and you look at your project list and you kind of pull it up and you go, I can't do any of that. That's normally because we haven't taken the time when we've got energy to define what's the next action. That's the bit. So you just look at it and go, I'm going to do this. And Diana says, what if you procrastinate to complete the next action? That's actually the little key bit, is just to do the action. Never let a thought come into your mind just to do it. And what I have on that is like the 3-second rule. If I have to make a phone call, if I haven't picked up my phone and made it in 3 seconds, I'm probably going to talk myself out of doing it. So I literally go 1, dial the number, and then it's too late. I'm already doing the action and I haven't talked myself out of it. So if you can get yourself to just do it, it will change everything for you. Okay.
Sarah says it would be good to see how you set this out in your app. It's literally just a table. We're very simple.
Which is
people.
like this.
It's just a table. You can do it in a spreadsheet with the columns.
Yeah, and I think we've got some weird projects on our list, so I'm not going to bring that up because you never know what you're going to see in our notebook. So we're going to move on from that. A little bit of a theme for this one is to ask AI to help. And this is one of my favorite prompts, is create me a table. When I learned to do this with AI, it was a game changer. Create me a table. In the first column, put my goal, which if you've been working with it, you can have told it your goals, or it might actually know it. In the second column, put my reason why I'm doing it, which if you have gone through those why exercises, AI will remember that and then be able to populate it. In the third column, put my ideas for how I could, please put ideas for how I could 10x my chances of achieving my goal. And it's really interesting. You ask AI for questions of how can you move faster? How might you do this? It'll give you loads of ideas. And the final one in the fourth column, please put my next action that I need to take to make this happen. Make the next action something I can do immediately. And it is incredible how AI will just populate that table. You'll have to edit it afterwards, but it will populate the table and give you a huge amount of ideas. And I'm just trying to sort of stretch your thinking into how you might use this tool to be able to make more progress quicker. And it's absolutely incredible. I don't care what app you use, Copilot, ChatGPT, I'm like have no idea. I use Copilot because it like embeds itself in the apps that I use, but you can use anything you want.
Well, when you say apps, you mean the Microsoft products, right? Like say
like OneNote, which is what we use. Yeah, exactly. The key to all of this is like, what can you actually do to make progress? So that's my question for you right now is what's one thing you could do right now to make progress on one of your goals? Don't really care what it is.
So what I think you're doing, Alan, is you're asking people for they're doing their own little version of a project list, right? So they've got their 3 goals that they came up with as part of the start of this workshop. For each of those, what's the next action on it? What's one small little thing that you can do?
Exactly. Martin and Lisa put away the Christmas decorations. I love that. But it's those genuine actions. Just to answer a couple of questions, Sophie said, I just joined a bit late. Are you really sending out info on alternatives to Vanguard, or was that an example for your table?
We are doing it.
Yes, we are doing it. Our next action is to message Martin and Lisa and ask them to help, but we haven't actually done that yet. They're on the call.
I didn't want to put that in front of everyone, but you've done it now, so that's fine. And they're laughing, so I'm quite happy.
Yeah, you can say no, don't worry. Janet says, how do you do the AI images in your presentation? We actually use Copilot, which has this thing called DALL-E behind it. So you can absolutely use that to create images as well. One of the things I've really liked is I create a little image or vision of what my goal would look like using AI. And then I put it in my table and it helps me to see the future that I want to create.
Gail's got a question. Does this not just give you even more to do? I already have all these ideas and a magpie shiny brain.
Gail, that's why we started with what are the 3 things you really want to make happen this year, and then stick to those 3. Otherwise, you end up with an exponential list, and it's really tough to go through. So the key is, what are the 3 things? So for us, we're really trying to boil it down to the 3 things, which for me are book, music album, and health. Those are the 3 things I want to spend all of my days doing, and I really try and cut out all of the other stuff and focus on that. That's the key bit. Someone said, do I pay for a subscription to Copilot? I do, but there are plenty of free versions. Don't pay for anything, just use the free thing.
So what is the next action that you're going to do on your goals? So Kelly says, get my gym clothes ready tonight, ready for the morning. Love that. Fiona, send email to increase my company pension contributions. Agaliki's going to create a table of a project list and use Copilot for their project goals.
Exactly. Gail says, I've already lost the concept of the 3 things. AI got shiny. Thank you for keeping me on target. Lindsay says, Katie, can you share your 3 goals?
My 3 goals are to publish our book in March 2025, to produce and release our music album in 2025, and to be, what's my 3rd one? I think I need to fully define the 3rd one.
Yes.
Thank you for making me hold me accountable, Louise. Lindsay.
Exactly. Mark Strong put in the chat, can I be a henchman for Martin and Lisa? Martin and Lisa, sounds like you haven't even agreed to the project and you've got a team of henchmen to help you do it.
Lee's going to plan healthy food for tomorrow. Clean's going to put 20 quid towards their visa for their trip. Janet's asking, so is this project chart a dynamic document constantly changing?
Yes.
Yes. Where do you store all the other things you need to do? My head isn't a God place. I think she means good place, but I like the fact that it said God place.
There have been a lot of studies to show the more you hold in your head, the worse your mental health will be. So the key is to get it out of your head and onto paper, which is why you use a notebook. Like throw everything in the notebook and then go back to focusing on the three most important things you can do. That's the key piece.
One thing we do is we have what we call the someday maybe list. So things that maybe we'll get to, things like someday we'll get to, and we want to capture them so that we know that we've got them out of our head, and we just keep things like that in there. But we aim to focus clearly on those three top things that we're working on.
Exactly. Lindsay is about to fulfill one of her goals and go to bed early, which I love it. Go to bed, catch up on YouTube afterwards. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next little bit. I've called it the lie of multitasking. Now, so many people say, oh, I'm just multitasking. I'm just good at multitasking and all of those different bits. I've done a lot of research into this. There are some interesting studies that show multitasking lowers productivity. You actually have a cost to your brain every time you move between activities. And multitasking is basically moving between activities very, very fast. And it has a cognitive load that stops you from being as productive. It increases errors and reduces quality. It impacts your memory and cognitive function, i.e., if you're trying to do all these different things at the same time, you end up going, where was I? What was I doing? And you just can't progress through it in the same way. And then finally, it can lead to stress and burnout. Like multitasking is something that will actively stop you from being able to make the progress you want to make.
So Jules says currently multitasking, which means you're either listening to us or you're doing something else, which is just being conscious of that. Kat says I'm feeling unloved. Oh, sorry, Kat, tell us more. What's going on?
Yeah, we do love you. And actually, the entire purpose of this workshop is to help you create the life you want to live. And this is our way of loving you, is to helping you find the way that you can really make progress, really make progress.
Essie, I hope I said your name right, sorry, is researching an action, like researching locations for trips?
Yes, yes. Just make sure it's like time defined, otherwise you can go down a research rabbit hole that lasts for months. Like I will spend half an hour researching locations or whatever it is. Okay. Ruth said Dave Allen wrote a great book about getting things done. Yes, the book is fantastic. I actually had Dave Allen on my podcast called Rebel Entrepreneur, and we'll be sharing that episode with you later because it's like about doing those things. Okay, this is Katie in a mirror. Why have we got a picture of you with a mirror, Katie?
Not only am I in the mirror, I'm in the bathroom in the mirror. This is a reminder to me. This is something that I'm training in because I have had a habit of stressing myself out by trying to do so many things and think about all these different things, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to make sure that happens and I've got to make sure Alan remembers to brush his teeth. There's so much going on in my head.
I'm very good at brushing my own teeth. You don't need to worry about that.
So I am training in this idea of one thing at once. Anytime that I feel stressed, overwhelmed, it's because I'm trying to think too far ahead and thinking, I'm never going to get this all done. I've got all this stress. So I'm training in one thing at once, one thing at once. And I think as a society or culture, whatever it is, we've been trained like you must keep busy and you must keep doing this and multitasking for the win because it means you can get so much more done. But what I found is that it's not true, and for the reasons that Alan just said. So the key and what I'm training in and what is not doesn't necessarily come naturally because of the way that we work and school or whatever it is training it in one thing at once, one thing at once. And it's almost this mantra to remind me that's all I can do. If I'm trying to do two things at once, I'm doing neither very well. I'm not actually doing anything effective.
Exactly.
So it's the reason I have that on the bathroom mirror is to remind me, because I do slip back into the other ways because I'm training myself to think differently. I want to have different results to I had in the past. So I need to think differently and I need to train that in. So it's on the mirror and I repeat it when I see it.
Exactly. A few people have said they found Dave Allen's book, Getting Things Done, hard to read. So did I. I listened to the live recording of his workshop, which was great. But you don't need it. Like a lot of the concepts are here, or the podcast you can listen to. Like you've got enough here. You don't need to go and do more research. Okay. Sam says my 82 open tabs would lead me to believe I struggle to do one thing at once too. Yes. Like if you think of like open projects are tabs for your thing in your brain, so you're like overwhelmed. I've got like 82 different projects open. You're gonna struggle, you'll feel overwhelmed. That's why we keep coming back to like what's the what are your three simple goals? And we don't do them all at once. We go, okay, like I'm gonna move the book on a little bit and I'll spend some time moving the book and I'm going to do this and move that on a little bit. And it's just one thing at once. And Richard B said, one thing at once. I love that. I needed that. Yes, please just repeat it daily.
Amanda's saying, but haven't you been super productive even like without this? Maybe, but I've been like super stressed and it's not a good way to live. And it's, yeah, not good.
Yes. So we have learnt this from the pain of the stress in our lives. That's where it's come from. Okay. We're going to move on to the next little bit, Katie.
Yes, and I think we originally said this was going to be a 90-minute workshop. We're at 75 minutes and we have a lot more to give you. So if you need to go, don't worry, you can watch on catch up. I think we'll keep going and it will probably be more like the 2 hours rather than 90 minutes. But
feel free to ditch us and come back on catch up. Just mark what time you've got to, and then you can just catch up on it. And
hello, future people on catch up. We love you.
Exactly. Clem says henchwomen are stayers. I love that. Kat says do one thing and do it well. It is. And Jackie says it's flying by, guys. Yes, it feels like 10 minutes we've been chatting to me. I don't know if Andrew feels that way, but it does to me. It feels like it's been 10 minutes.
Right, let's move on to building a team around you. And I love this quote from Enola Holmes, a movie. Their mum said, "You will do very well on your own, but with others, you could be magnificent." So yes, you can get stuff done on your own, but imagine what you can do as part of a team.
Exactly.
Because I'm falling into this trap of just wanting to do it on my own. Like, I'll do it on my own so I can claim all of the glory for myself. It's like, that's no fun. Have a team around you.
Exactly. So who do you want to do this with? Who do you want to do this with? We're going to ask that question. A few people says, has the recording started again? It stopped a while back. We're still live streaming to YouTube. So it is all saved on YouTube. You can watch at a later date if you're off to bed now. If you're staying with us, that's cool. So we're all good. Janet says, what if you can't afford a team? I definitely can't afford Katie on my team, but let's be honest, she volunteers a lot of time to work with me for free.
I'm expensive. So we don't necessarily mean that you would need to pay people for your team, but who could you kind of buddy up with, that someone that's got a similar goal that you can get ideas from and
work together?
You might have like, I don't know, like a mastermind group that everyone on this call that wants to write a book this year can all get together and do it with people in that sense.
Exactly.
So
you can absolutely work to earn the money, to hire a freelancer and pay them to help you on those things. You can absolutely do that. And sometimes that is a very good thing to do. What we were mainly focused on was working with other people. It really helps. On the Rebel Finance School, we talk about an accountability buddy or someone you'll speak to once a month about your finances. And it's amazing the relationships, the support people get working on those things. So you can find someone in the Rebel group, you can work with someone, you can work with the person next to you if you like them. If you haven't got someone next to you, you can find a friend. There's always someone you can help and work on.
And I think as well, a few people have given the idea of bartering, meaning like swapping your skills. Like, you're great at making awesome graphics and they're great at spreadsheets. Maybe you can swap skills.
Yeah, exactly. So it's working with someone. We do have this idea of the weekly check-in. Katie and I go like, how are we doing on our goals and what's the next action? And we just do that once a week. Doesn't take very long. We go, where am I with these goals and what's the next action? And then we probably take a few of those next actions. It actually just keeps you moving and working towards your goals. It's an incredible thing. It helps us to reconnect with our why and make progress. So what we would say is find an hour to do a weekly check-in, or half an hour. Lots of people then say to us, I can't find an hour. time is not the thing I have. And I would just say to you, please pull out your phone right now and check your screen time on your phone. This is my screen time from this week, which I'm a bit embarrassed to share. Obviously, some of it is using PowerPoint to create this slide deck.
Of course, Alan, of course.
But yeah, I could find an extra hour in my days if I wanted to. I could just get rid of some of the time I spend on like scrolling stuff, blur. But what do you spend your time on, and what could you ditch? How could you get rid of it? This is really interesting. People say they don't have time, but your time is going somewhere. So schedule the once a week thing, put a date in the time, and then have a go on it. Fireman69 says, less TikTok, invest in you, love it. Fiona says, less screen time is one of my goals. I love it.
Screen time is more about the type of screen time, says Kat, which I agree with, saying whether it's productive or doom scrolling. Exactly. Are you on your phone 5 hours a day because you're using it for work and you're not getting distracted doing doom scrolling, like you said? Absolutely right, Kat.
Okay. The number one complaint people have when we talk about doing this stuff and making your goals happen is I don't have time. Two things I wanted to say. Number one is, if it really is your biggest goal, what are you willing to give up to get it? And two is, quite often it's not time, it's energy. Have any of you had the thing of where you worked hard all the day, you get to like 7, 8 p.m., you've put the kids to bed, you've done the washing up, you've like, whatever it is, you've worked hard, and you sit on the couch and you just like, well, you have time, you just don't have energy at that point. And one of the key things we've worked out for us and for lots of the people we've worked with, it's not time that's the limiting factor, it's energy, because you have the hours, but you can't put all that in there. And Kat says, time to relax will recharge you. And that's actually what we quite often say, is it's about increasing your energy so that you can put more into the time you've got. So it's about focusing on your energy, which does involve relaxing, sleeping well, your diet, exercise, doing something that builds energy, drinking water, and doing one thing at once. That will bring your energy to life and give you more energy to be able to make progress. But we have definitely discovered we run out of energy before we run out of time. And that's when we just sit on the couch and watch a TV show because we can't do any more.
One of the things that we found a useful exercise to do in the past, I forget which book it came from, but it was talking about doing kind of an energy audit, meaning noticing the things throughout your day that give you energy and take energy away from you. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't have energy to do anything, I'll just sit on my phone. I feel worse afterwards than I did before. So it's just being conscious of that and being like, okay, I'm drained of energy. Maybe I need to go for a walk. Maybe I need to move my body. Maybe I need to drink a glass of water, and just noticing what it is that gives you more energy so that you can do more of that and eliminate the things that are sucking your energy.
Which, highlighting what Janet said, my spin class gave me more energy. I was feeling tired and not feeling great before I went. And that's what we found. Like doing some exercise, looking after yourself, going to sleep, doing rest, actually doing those things will help you have more energy. And notice Lisa's completely slumped in the couch at this point. We're talking about having energy, and she just went.
I did want to point out as well, so we got the word diet on this slide, but we mean what you're eating. We're not meaning that you need to go on any crazy drastic diets.
Exactly. And Lisa says she was thinking in that position.
I do my best thinking there.
Yeah.
So the next point we want to make is that being consistent over time wins the day. This is thinking about like the hare and the tortoise and different bursts of energy. So some people have this very sporadic energy, meaning, I don't know, once a week they get really excited and I'm going to spend like 5 hours, 8 hours on this thing, and then they're kind of drained and they're doing nothing for a week and they're like, okay, let's go again. And then over time, the effort that they expend is not as much as if they had a more consistent energy of just doing a little bit each day, and watching as that compounds over time. And that is always the winner. Consistency over kind of the stop start. That's what we mean by the word sporadic. Sometimes you do a bit, sometimes you don't.
Yes. So doing those little things every day, it just compounds. And that's why we say every day, connect with your why, take a daily action. It makes such a difference to those things.
And please tell people what you're doing. You've got your goals, like Martin and Lisa are wanting to live on a narrowboat.
And they've told us.
And they're telling people. So they'll be like, oh, have you chatted to Dom? We know our friend Dom. You could chat to him. And so you'll be amazed what the people that you talk to could suggest to try and help you, whether they can help you directly, maybe, or whether they think, oh, who do I know that could help you with that? Because people just want to help each other, don't they? And the more people that you tell what you're doing, the more opportunities and things that might happen. So it's having that little bit of bravery to say, this is what I'm doing. And it also helps you be accountable as well. You declare to the world, this is what I'm about, this is who I am. You're more likely to follow through.
We've just had the most incredible example of that. Jack has put, my friend builds narrowboats.
There you go.
So it's just incredible. You say it out loud and then someone else says, oh, I know someone who does that. And it's amazing. And nothing might come of it, or something might, but that's how it is. So this was our section of how to actually get stuff done. We had the power of the project list, multitasking, the lie of it, how to assemble your team, and we did that very quickly, weekly check-ins, energy versus time, consistency wins, connect with your why and take daily action, and tell people what you're doing. That was this section of the workshop. What we would really like to know is, what did you get out of this section? What did you get out of this section? Please put it in the chat. What's one thing you will take and do? What did you get out of this section? Here's everything we talked about. Frida says, don't multitask one thing at once. Love that.
Gail's going to do an energy audit.
Tassina says, the table prompt is going to change my life.
Amazing.
Yes, that changed my life. It was amazing.
Fiona says one thing at once, pretty much all caps. Wendy also said one thing at once. Conway, ask AI lots of questions.
It really helps.
Gemma's going to connect with their why. Sita, one action at a time. Got lots of things about weekly check-ins. Stephen says consistency is key.
Antonic says break tasks down. Yes. Marion on YouTube says project lists is for me. A says the use of AI to get clear on blind spots. Yes, that's been a game changer for me. It really has.
Kate said all of it.
All of it. I love it. Just do one thing at once, though.
Esther's going to assemble their team.
Amanda says it's okay for chill 30 minutes and get back on it. Yes. Consciously decide to rest.
And know what it is that brings you that energy as well.
Yeah. There's some great answers here.
I love it.
I'm feeling your energy. I'm excited about this year. I think we're going to rock it. Okay. We're going to move on to the next section because we have lots of energy to keep going. We've got a very quick 12 ways to stay on track, because you'll get excited, then it's going to hit the grind, then we have to stay on track to make this happen. So here's 12 things that we think are going to help you. The first is, your life is already full. What are you going to take out of your life to make this thing happen? What are you going to stop doing to be able to do what you want to do? You already have a full life, and quite often these workshops go, okay, you need to do all these new things, and we get that, but you already have a full life. So what are you going to stop doing? Then I'm going to stare at you for a second and go, I'm serious. What are you going to stop doing?
Patricia's already got an answer.
Sarah says, I'm going to stop working. I love that. Yeah, quit your job, focus on the goals. Hopefully you've worked on your finance before you do that. Patricia says, wasting time on social media. That was actually one of mine, definitely.
We got a lot about social media.
Binge watching Netflix, stop being dragged around by algorithms, doom scrolling.
Oh, reframe work as play.
I love that. ML put dopamine scrolling. Yes, get rid of it. I had this thing of like, stop Instagram. That's like a default thing that never makes me feel better.
Ooh, Patricia, don't finish the whole bottle of wine.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. This is a kind of something that someone's doing mentally. So Kriti says, comparing myself to others, it uses up so much energy. Absolutely. This doesn't have to be something that you're like doing. It's something the way you're thinking. Are you going to be nicer to yourself? Are you going to stop being mean?
Exactly. Ajaliki says watching TV. Bethany says stop worrying. Yes.
Yeah.
Worrying is praying for what you don't want. Stop. Focus on what you do want. The answer to how do you stop worrying is focus on what you do want. Tohi has deleted Instagram and will watch less TV. I love it. Andra said ignore politics, things which you can't change. Yes. This is it. This is it.
And this wouldn't be a Donegan presentation without a couple of graphs. So we have another graph here, which is to illustrate the point of what we expect in our humble animalistic brains is we always think that progress is going to be linear. What do I mean by linear? Means a straight line. We think that progress, I'm going to put in effort and my results are going to be proportionate to that. So 1 hour of time, I'm going to get 1 hour of results. 3 hours.
Which is the yellow line.
Which is the yellow line. 3 hours of time, 3 hours of results. That's what we expect to happen. In reality, what happens is it looks like nothing is happening. And it's so frustrating because you're like, I'm putting in all this effort and I'm expecting the yellow line. And gosh darn it, I'm getting the blue line. But you see over time how much difference it makes. Like that blue line is going to keep shooting up. So over time, you're going to be way better off in what actually happens if you can stick with it. People will usually give up earlier on when they're expecting the yellow line. They've got the blue line and they're like, well, this is not working. It's not happening as I expected to. I'm going to give up because I'm not seeing the progress. That is the key, is you have to remember that it will not be linear. It will not be a straight line. It will not always go to plan.
Exactly. Moving on to number 3, it is fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process of writing your book. This is what AI thinks I look like writing my book. This is not a real picture. I think Martin and Lisa thought it was a real image of me for a second.
I mean, you've got bigger biceps than that.
But you have to fall in love with the process of what you do. So I have a question for you. How can you make working on your goal so pleasurable that you can't wait to do more of it? Do you need, like, what's the nice drink you can pour? How can you make it so much fun? Who do you want to work with that it feels so good? How can you make working on your goal so pleasurable that you just want to keep going?
We talk about this on Rebel Finance School when we talk about the monthly finance meeting and how can you make it fun and what kind of environment do you want to have? Are you going to have a glass of wine as you do it? Are you going to go for a walk in nature to where you think about, planning for the week or whatever it is? And it's the same here, isn't it? It's like, how do you do this for other areas of your life? And with a bit of creativity and a bit of thinking ahead of time, there's some easy wins, aren't there, that you could do to make things more pleasurable.
And just to highlight this, pretty much no one enjoys beer or coffee the first time they drink it, but they push through until they enjoy it. Like, how can you find a way to enjoy the thing you maybe don't like at the start and find a way to love it so that you can do it? So that's number 3. Let's move on to number 4. Happiness equals progress. What does that mean, Katie?
I think of this as like, imagine you're going on a long walk and you've been going for quite some time and you can see where you're going and it feels like a long way off. But then you turn around and you look back and you're like, blimey heck, we've come a really long way. And that happiness comes, our brains are kind of wired, thank you, to enjoy that progress. So the happiness doesn't actually come from achieving the goal, it's from the progress and who you become along the way.
Exactly.
Number 5, expect obstacles and problems. But actually, I don't want you to expect them. I want you to embrace them. Why do I say that? Well, let's go to the movies to try and understand this one. So I'm going to talk to you about two different movies. Which one would you watch and which character do you want to be? So in the first movie, we've got Jeff. Jeff sets out on a quest. Everything goes according to plan. There are no surprises. There are no twists. Jeff is exactly the same person at the end of the movie as he was at the beginning of the movie. He hasn't learned anything. He hasn't had to overcome any struggles. Would you like to watch that movie?
Sounds like the most boring movie ever. What's the second movie, Katie?
The second movie is about Jane. Jane sets out on a quest. There are so many surprises, challenges, obstacles. She's like, blimey, this is tough. And she has to learn all these new skills and ways of thinking and different creative problem solving. And at the end of the movie, she's really proud of who she's become. And she inspires other people to do hard things as well, because they're watching her and they're like, wow, look how far she's come, which is part of the happiness is progress. And also look what she's had to overcome to get there. So the message here is the obstacles and the problems, you want those because they make you stronger. They make you a better version of you from what you had to overcome, what you had to learn.
Exactly. And problems are a sign of life.
Yes.
The only people who don't have problems are in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop having problems, it means you're dead. So just check now, do you have a beating heart and do you have problems? That means you're alive. The problems are a sign of life. You're always going to have them. It's how quickly you can get through them. Okay, we're going to move on to 6.
Well, I wouldn't say how quickly you can get through them, but more like what you can learn along the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Thank you.
Okay, 6, expect the energy curve.
What's the energy curve?
The energy curve is, at the start of any project, we're excited. Let's make this happen. And then you get to the boring middle, the dip. It's like, oh man, this was more work than I thought it was going to be. And you have to expect that. It happens in every project, and then you get the energy at the end to push it over the line and finish it. So if you expect you're going to get to a point in the middle where you have to find your energy, you'll know it's coming. And actually, the best way you can do this is right in the middle, come back to your why. Why am I doing it? That's where your motivation and energy to keep going will come from.
And that's why it needs to be juicy.
Exactly.
This next one, have you ever had this? You're sitting on the sofa and you're like, oh, I'll do something once I feel motivated. I'll do something once I've got that energy and excitement. And you sit there and you sit there and you're still waiting. Half an hour later, a whole Netflix series later.
A bottle of wine later.
I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. Motivation comes from doing something, from taking action, which leads me very nicely into what I call the 15-minute trick. I don't know if you can relate to this.
Katie did this to me last night.
I said, so one of you, if you're working in a team, or this might be an internal monologue or dialogue saying, I can't be bothered, I'm tired.
Me too.
Should we just do 15 minutes?
Okay, I can do 15 minutes. This is literally what Katie did to me last night. Is like, can we do 15 minutes? I'm like, yeah, I can do 15 minutes.
What do you think usually happens? Please put in the chat. What do you think usually happens once we actually, so we're like, okay, we're going to do 15 minutes on something.
Yeah.
What do you think happens normally?
Mood follows action. Fiona's like, you do at least an hour.
Yeah, get excited, keep going. You work on it longer than 15 minutes. You get an energy boost. Yeah, exactly. That invariably is what happens. So 2 hours later,
I'm so excited. I wish it wasn't bedtime. Like, I'm into it. Why do I have to stop?
No, the key here is you have to genuinely be okay with it being 15 minutes. And sometimes it is 15 minutes. 90% of the time it isn't. But just like, it's a trick, but also you have to be genuine and say, okay, it is 15 minutes and see what happens.
Exactly. And I know it's a trick, but I allow Katie to do it to me because I actually want the results of doing it. I knew. Because I was like, oh God, 15 minutes. I can do 15 minutes. And then like 2 hours later, you're motivated. Yeah. The 10-minute trick
10-minute trick.
doesn't matter.
Choose your number. 5-minute trick. 2-minute trick.
It is a trap, Martin and Lisa, but it's one I will happily step into because it's for my own good. So step in, use the trap, use it on yourself to do it. It makes such a difference. Okay, we're going to move on to number 10, which is focus on what you can control. Most people in life focus on what they can't control. What can you not control? We had a few of these in the chat earlier.
Can't control
You
Alan.
definitely can't control me. Kat says other people. Yeah, you like it's a real. You cannot control other people. You can't control the news. You cannot control the markets, whether they're going up and down. Can't control the government. Many of us have tried. Some of us work in it. You can't control the weather, says Dawn. Yes,
Yeah.
but British people love to speak about it forever.
Ad nauseum.
You can't control other people. You can't control past events. You can't control the weather. You can't control opinions. You can't control any of that.
Other people's driving, says Mark.
Yes, you're true. That's so true. You can't control other people driving. It doesn't stop me going, what the are they doing?
Something's happened to Mark recently.
The more time you spend focused on that, the less time you will spend focused on what you can control and what you can do. Rich put, I can't control my 4 kids. You're absolutely right. You can't control them. You need to focus on what you can control, which is your actions, your attitude, your efforts, your reaction to the kids, your habits, and your self-care, how you look after yourself for your energy to be able to do things. You have to focus on what you can control, not what you can't control. And that's actually to my question to you. What percentage of your day do you spend reading the news, listening to media, focused or discussing other people's habits and actions that you can't control? What percentage of your time are you actually spending in your power control? Fiona put in the chat too much. And that's what happens. The more time you spend focused on what you can't control, the less progress you will make. Matthew puts as little as possible. That's the goal. We all get distracted by a headline, by this, by discussing something that's happened. You have to pull yourself back and go, I can't control that, and go back to focusing on what you do want. So number 10 is spend as much time as you can on something you can control. Number 11.
Brings
Katie.
us nicely onto this concept of quadrant 2, which we have borrowed from Stephen R. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's this idea that you can think of tasks and things you're doing on 2 scales, the importance of it and the urgency of it. So something in quadrant 1 is important and urgent.
Yes. So it's very, very important. I like looking after my baby, and it's urgent because the baby is crying. That is an example of something that is urgent and important. Or you're driving and your tire bursts. That is urgent and important. There aren't so many of these things, but they do happen.
Next one would be quadrant 2, which is something that's important but not urgent. So that would be something like working on your goals. They're really important, but if you don't do something on them, like there's
Nothing's
not going
to
not be a fire, there's not things going to happen. Actually, if you don't spend enough time in quadrant 2, you might end up with more quadrant 1 things. So the example I'm thinking of, if you don't look after your health and you're not going for checkups and going to the dentist or whatever it is to look after your health, those things can turn into emergencies because you didn't look after them. Suddenly you've got a problem with your teeth, whatever it is. Or the example you gave about the tire blowing up in the car, maybe you hadn't maintained the car, which was the quadrant 2 activity, which made it an urgent thing in quadrant 1.
Exactly. Mark put looking after my wife is important and urgent. It actually depends whether your wife is like demanding to be looked after.
Depends, like, is she on fire? Is it actually urgent? Yeah.
Because actually that's normally important but not urgent and gets put off until it's a point where the other person says, like, this is now terrible, we need to sort this. So it's doing the things before they become important and urgent.
And then we've got quadrant 3, which is not important but urgent. Like your phone rings, who knows who's on the other end of the line, but it feels urgent because it's like right there in the moment. And
your email inbox,
yeah,
that is important. It's not important most of the time, emails, but they're urgent. It just fills up, or notifications, or all of that stuff. Absolutely. And then the final one,
not important, not urgent. Things like loads of people put on
Netflix,
chats, like
Instagram,
doom scrolling, all those things. And your aim is to spend as much time as you can in quadrant 2. Of course, there will be things that happen in the other quadrants of your thing, but spending time on the stuff that's really important to you. Exercising is never urgent. It's important, but it's never urgent. So it's about making that conscious choice. And we want to ask you, how much time do you spend in quadrant 2?
Exactly. Mark put, my phone rang earlier, but it was a scam. So it was not important, but because the phone rang, it was urgent, so you answer it. Andres put the Eisenhower matrix. That is exactly it. It's come from many places and many people.
Didn't come up with this one.
Yeah, Fireman 69 put, invest in yourself and family and true friends. The rest is just noise. Yeah, that's the quadrant 2 stuff. Okay, final one. This
is about celebrating the win. So in the Rebel Finance School Facebook group, we started this weekly tradition of telling us what win you've had for the week, so that we start getting in that habit of celebrating what's happening. So we thought it would be a good idea to use that as a place where we can all post what progress we've made, whether it's big or small. Once a week, go into that post and tell us what's happened.
Yeah, put your goals, put like, I did this week for future me. I've done this. I've made progress. Because if you share that stuff, you feel good about it, and then you start to make more progress.
And you might be thinking, well, I didn't make any progress this week. I don't have anything to report. This is all not very good, is it? Well, maybe you could use it as an opportunity to ask for help. Like, oh, I had these goals and I'm feeling a bit down about it, and this happened, and like, just to reach out and to ask for that help. And maybe it's just as a reminder to get back on the wagon. It's like, oh, gosh darn it, I don't have anything to report because I haven't been working on it. Let me get back on it now.
Exactly. And then the final one, put a weekly check-in in your calendar to work on this or your goals. Just have a weekly thing that goes, have I made progress on my 3 goals? On the podcast that I had and have called Rebel Entrepreneurs, I did 3 workshops about the myth of multitasking, how to be a productive person, and getting things done, where I interviewed David Allen on my podcast. If you would like those episodes to listen to, they are yours. They will help you make progress. Also, do not use these episodes as a way to procrastinate on what you actually need to do. You know, do the stuff.
I love
do what you actually need to do. Katie's put the links in the chat.
They're in the description.
They're in the description of the YouTube for catch up as well, so they are there. So these were the 12 ways to stay on track. We had subtract something from your life. Don't expect progress to be linear. It's exponential. Fall in love with the progress. Process.
Happiness is progress. Embrace obstacles and problems because of the cool person that you're going to come at the end of it.
Expect the energy curve. You'll have lots of energy at the start, have a dip and come back up.
Come back to the why. Motivation comes from action and the super sneaky 15-minute trick.
Or 10-minute trick, or whatever number you want. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Spend as much time as you can in quadrant 2. And then finally, celebrate the wins, big and small. So we would love to know, of those 12 things, what struck you the most? What hit you? What do you want? What struck you the most? We would love to know. Serena says, will the links be included in the email you send us afterwards? We weren't actually planning on sending an email after the course.
They're in the description.
They're in the description.
The YouTube video. So they'll be there whenever you need them.
Yeah. We've had 3 people say 15-minute trick. Clem says, focus on what you control. Subtract to make space, says Wendy. Viola says, happiness equals progress. Hey, Viola. Don't expect progress to be linear. I love it. Ellie put 9 and 11, which is the 15-minute trick in quadrant 2. Mariam put subtract. Antonic says, don't forget to share Christmas Mexico tips, not necessarily tonight.
I'll put that as a project.
Yeah, I don't need another project yet.
Message us, Antonic.
Janet says, focus on what you can control. Paul says, I want movie B. Yes, I want the challenges.
That took on those challenges and became the stronger person. Love it, Paul.
Exactly. Ruth says, what will you take out of life? That was my big eye-opening moment in that. I love that. Absolutely. Carol says, come back to the why.
Dan says, subtract to make space.
Please say hi to Dan. Tohi says, all of them. I love that. Make sure you do one of them.
Right. Should we move on to the next bit, Alan?
Yes.
We're coming to the end.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the commitment ceremony and a closing message. We've got some homework for you because we know that you love homework. So if you remember back to the beginning of the workshop where we talked about the 3 goals, what are your 3 goals? Did you need a little bit more time to come up with those, to make them juicy and epic and to amp them up a little bit?
Spend some time like tomorrow, like work out exactly what those are. And the reason we had 3 is because if you have too many, you get overwhelmed, you end up doing nothing. So just start with those, do one thing at once. Then have a little congruency check with AI. This really helped me to see my blind spots. 3 is make your why juicy. So you have such a why that you've got huge energy and you're dying to make progress. 4 was create your mini project list with your 3 things, the notes and the next action, so you can break it down, and that will help you to work out what the next action is. Then you can schedule a weekly check-in and take the first action on each of your projects. That's all we want you to do, is every week make progress on your goals, because the world will be a happier place if you feel like you're making progress on your goals. So that's the homework. That's what we want you to do. Katie's put it in the chat. Take a photo of the slide, pause it if you're on YouTube.
I'll put it in the description for YouTube catch up as well. Hello, exactly. The future.
Hello, the future people. Hello.
So
okay.
It's time has come to make a commitment, Alan, because none of this is going to happen. None of this is going to do it unless you commit and decide that this is what is absolutely going to happen.
So we're actually going to do this with you because we have to commit to our goals and we want you to commit to your goals. If you haven't come up with your goals yet, that's okay. And doesn't matter what your goals are. If your goals are to do nothing for a month because you want to rest and recover, that is a goal. So that's what it is. So here's the commitment ceremony.
I
insert name.
Katie.
Which means your name. So I would go, I, Alan Donegan, commit to taking action towards making 2025 my best year yet. Please say this along with us. Paul, I can see you're not saying the words out loud.
Let's need to be moving, people.
Yes, I can see CB is. That's good. I commit to taking action towards making 2025 the best year of my life.
I have a clear vision for the year, and I know that small, regular actions towards it produce amazing results.
And if you don't have the clear vision yet, that's okay. You've got time to do it, but this is what you're aiming for. I specifically commit to doing the book, doing the music album, and getting healthy. That's what I commit to. What are yours? What are you committing to?
Say it out loud.
Yes. Gareth says, it's my 50th, so it will be my best year yet for lots of reasons. Yes, commit to taking those actions.
I expect obstacles and problems and embrace them as part of the process.
Exactly. I am gentle and kind to myself when I fall off the wagon. I am gentle and kind to myself when I fall off the wagon because things will go wrong and that's okay. We'll just get back on the wagon.
When I feel overwhelmed, I repeat
one thing at once.
And I take my best guess at the next step forward.
And that's all you can do. I realise that I am not alone. Yes, even if you're sat alone on the couch, you are not alone. There is an entire group of people that want you to be successful. That's what they want.
I can reach out to my fellow rebels for support whenever I need them.
I have a big, juicy why that propels me forwards.
Most of all, I know that happiness is not waiting for me at the end of 2025.
Happiness is the progress. I focus on the way. I focus on the ways in which my life is already awesome as I work towards an even better future.
I celebrate wins big and small along the way.
And bring on 2025. I'm going to work to make it my best year yet. Woo! I love it.
Let's do this thing.
So that's the plan. Okay, the Donegan closing message. This is our closing message for you. What we really want you to take away from this workshop. Janet actually put happiness is right now, which I love.
She is right.
I love your commitments. It's fantastic. Okay, my closing message for you is you create your life. Yes, you. I'm staring at you now down the camera. You create your life. The question is, what life do you want to lead? Because you can create whatever life you want. Who do you want to spend your life with? And this concept that we've come up with is self-care is not bubble baths and chocolate. Everyone's like, oh, I'll look after myself by booking a spa day. That's not looking after yourself. Looking after yourself is building a life you don't need to escape from with a spa day. Self-care is building a life you do not need to escape from. And that's what we want you to do, because you can create anything. You are the creator of your life. No one is coming to save you. No one at all. You have to do it. So please do something today that future you will say thank you for. Because systematic action and focus compounds to create the life of your dreams. And we truly believe you can do it. YouTubers, we're going to say goodbye to YouTube. Thank you for being on the workshop. The biggest thing you can do for us is tell us how you get on. YouTubers, message us, tell us how you get on, because what we really want is for you to make progress and for you to have success in your life. Nothing fills our hearts more than your success. So please work on that and do it. YouTubers, if you want to hear the clip of the music album, you can come across to Zoom if you want to. We're going to stick around for a few minutes and chat. If you want to escape, you absolutely can. That's it. So please stop listening to us and go and take action. Because if you don't take action, nothing will happen. That's the end of our workshop. Thank you so much for coming. We love you all. And like this community we have built together, you helped us build it, is just, it fills our heart with joy. So thank you for being part of the community. You are amazing. Thank you for being part. We love you all.
Bye-bye, YouTube.
YouTubers, I'm going to hit goodbye now. Take it easy. See you soon. Goodbye. Okay, the YouTubers have gone now.